Welcome back to Count Me In. I'm your host, Adam Larson. Today I have the pleasure of speaking with Bruce Ditman, the Chief Growth Officer at Trigger and Managing Partner of Chief Seconds. Bruce brings a unique and insightful perspective on sales and marketing rooted in a wealth of experience. In our conversation, Bruce challenges the myth of a secret sauce for success, emphasizing instead that success often lies in the execution of simple, well-understood principles. He delves into why we're drawn to complex solutions and offers practical strategies for making hard things easy. Whether you're climbing the corporate ladder, leading a team, or pursuing personal growth, this episode is packed with valuable insight and actionable advice. So sit back, relax, and join us as we embrace the straightforward path to success. Let's get started. Well, Bruce, I'm really excited to have you on the Count Me In podcast. And one of the things that excited me about talking to you is you say something about there's no such thing as a secret sauce. And a lot of time people are searching for that secret sauce, that one thing that's going to shoot them to the moon and back. And maybe you could talk a little bit about what you mean when you say there is no secret sauce.
Yeah, sure. Thanks. And thanks for having me on the podcast. Listen, we have an entire economy of secret sauces out there of secret knowledge, special tactics, recipes of this herb and that root to solve all of our problems, right? And I'm just as guilty of it as everybody else. I'm a sucker on social media for a this or a that, or just general conversations. But the truth is that I think we all know most of the time, almost all of the time, especially without behavioral modification, doesn't work, right? So that said, when I talk about there's no secret sauce, there's a funny story behind it, because I try to stay away from I am a person who's prone to sloganing, but I am not prone to that type of metaphor. But the truth is that I was a CMO for like 15 years in the accounting industry. But unlike many or nearly all CMOs in the accounting industry, I was in sales beforehand. I actually never had any marketing training. Sales is something that I think most people on earth find terrifying, and salespeople are just sort of perverse enough not to. And therefore, it's a great area. It's a great area for people to be selling snake oil in, right?
Yeah.
Just like diet, just like exercise, just like all these other kind of things and we'll get to this, but where people actually know what they're supposed to do, but there has to be an easier way, right? But because I was a former salesperson sitting in a CMO chair, when I got the calls, I'm telling you, just harassed for years. So one person in particular for more than a decade by someone who wanted to come in and sell their proprietary system, their secret knowledge, their secret sauce on how to drive sales and develop business at the accounting firm, which I knew to be just a sales pipeline. You don't get past day one, lowest person on the totem pole at a sales organization without fully understanding that. And it would drive me mental, and I was a pretty rigorous gatekeeper for these people. Now, there's always an opportunity to learn from someone. Most of the time we learn from experiences like that, not from the person with whom we're sharing that experience. But anyway, so I was talking to a friend of mine, and I was ranting about this as usual. As a consultant to the industry, it's very frustrating. And as someone who's actually done sales and had success in it, it's frustrating to then go out in the field and compete, or you see other people spreading information that, there should be no premium on. For example, I'm really focused on excellence, right? I'm sort of good to great.
Mm-hmm.
Therefore, you should give away everything it takes to get to good, right? I'm in service of your sort of higher mission. I was talking to my friend. Now, this friend and I travel around our state, which is Connecticut. He's also in the business, talking about changing the world, talking about changing the business. And what we do is we try different buffalo wing spots. Right. We don't have a blog. We don't have a podcast. We just go and try different buffalo wing sauces and rate buffalo wing restaurants and rate them to each other. That's where it ends. It's real nerd stuff, I guess. But I'm sitting there eating wings. I'm sitting there and I'm ranting about this. And I'm saying, there just isn't a secret sauce. The secret to doing it is doing it. As I'm holding a buffalo wing in my hand, and I'm like, oh man, sometimes it just hits you in the face. See, buffalo wing sauce only has 3 ingredients, right? It's butter, it's vinegar, and it's hot sauce.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So I'll ask you, why do some of them rule and some of them suck?
It's all about how you cook it.
It's all about how you cook it, man. It's about execution,
Yeah.
and knowledge and wisdom and experience and et cetera. But really, it's about how you cook it, just as you said it better than I do, right? So that became the foundation for this sort of focused piece of education that I like to do, which is called No Secret Sauce. We can do this in one foot while rubbing our belly and patting our head. There are no secret sauces. The secret to doing it is doing it. But really, when you think about it, the big picture is actually, what is it about secret sauces that attracts us? right? Because very few of us who are prone to buying a skinny tea or a supplement, a muscle building supplement or something else, very few of us are one and doneers.
Mm-hmm.
It's actually kind of like a type. Again, it's most of us, right? So after the first time we do it, nothing happens. And after the second time we do it, nothing happens, or something bad happens, or certainly not the positive. Why do we keep doing it? Right? What is the allure of that mystery? And in business, I'm calling it complexity, because I think people who sell you a mystery cure or a proprietary system that is made up of totally free and available things, what they're doing is they are creating allure and creating mystery and complexity. And why are we attracted to that? We're attracted to that because it's unknowable. It feels unknowable. And that which is unknowable relieves us of the duty of having to know it, right?
Yeah.
It's not that it's hard, it's that it's unknowable. And that's what, in my mind, it makes us attracted to it. It's that, like, well, listen, babe, I'm not responsible for my success in my bicep growth. It's this unknowable mixture of roots and herbs that I need to take in a particular sequence. The truth is that I know how to get bigger biceps, and so does everybody. Go do curls. Okay.
Yeah.
Go do curls. Now, is there a secret to getting? This is silly about biceps, but whatever it is, to becoming the world's best at something? Maybe. Not a secret, but is there a combination of recipe? We'll talk about food again with recipe.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, probably. But not to get good at it, just go do curls.
Yeah.
So that's it. So when I talk about it, what I'm looking at is, no secret sauce means, what is the allure of complexity?
Mm-hmm.
How do we fall out of love with it? Right. And how do we learn to distill tasks and knowledge into simple, and I'll make a point here, not easy. Okay. It's definitely not easy, but simple chunks of information and or activity, right, that we can use to design our success.
I like when you said that, that it could be simple. That doesn't mean it's easy. Going back to your example of the curls, doing the curls and doing the work to get the big biceps takes time. It's hard at times. Sometimes it hurts. Sometimes you have to change your diet and eat certain things to make sure that you're getting the right proteins and all those things to make sure those biceps get large. But it's not an easy thing, but it's a very simple thing. You just have to do it over and over again.
It is.
And so,
yeah.
And I think it's a larger task, a larger comment on society. If you look back through history where there's different snake oil salesmen, there's different, self-help books and different things, different rise of different industries throughout history, especially in the US. And you can see why people are attracted to those things. There's that get rich quick, that idea that if I can do this one thing that seems unknowable, I can get rich. Mm-hmm. Then you pay $3,000 for a seminar and you realize, wait, they're not really telling me anything new.
One person gets rich in that environment.
Yes.
It's the person selling it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how do we break out of this idea of complexity and kind of get more and embrace the idea of the power of simplicity instead of just continuing on that same cycle over and over again?
Well, for one, forgive yourself for being attracted to complexity. Okay. It is our nature.
Yeah.
And if we weren't, there would be no social media. If we weren't, there'd be no self-help book category. I mean, it's okay, right? But just be aware of it. And when we look at it, don't accept that something's unknowable, okay? And demand that anyone who's trying to peddle something that appears mysterious or unknowable or proprietary to you, demand that they explain it to you in the simplest of terms. Break it down into simple, achievable goals for me, with the caveat that I understand that this won't be easy. It will just be simple.
Yeah.
This is not my necessarily my IP, but we have to focus on behaviors, right? And a behavior that we can adopt is that type of, it's not cynicism, right? But I think we can take a skeptical eye to a lot of this. And of course, the difference between cynicism and skepticism. Cynicism is presupposing a negative outlook on something. A skepticism is that I'd like you to demonstrate what you're talking about. If you look at the Skeptics Society, for example, the National Organization of Skeptics Society, that's a society entirely devoted to the scientific method. Nothing more. Absolutely nothing more. So you can both hope that UFOs are real, but reject the evidence that you've seen of them. Because you're not a cynic. You don't think that people who believe in UFOs are dumb, but you are a skeptic in that they have yet to meet the standard of the scientific method in order to demonstrate the evidence of them. So can we be a little more skeptical when someone says, I have a system that's going to work. You've never seen it before, but what you're doing is wrong. What I do is right. Let's be skeptical and say, okay, show me. Let's talk about it. Explain to me. Oh, this is a sales pipeline. Okay. Other than changing the vocabulary of what I'm currently using, what other meaningful additions have you made? Or have you changed the vocabulary to make things complex? Right. The irony of ironies in my space in marketing is that complexity in extremis, which is confusion, is the enemy of good communication, right?
Hmm.
So imagine, frame it this way in your head. Someone comes to you and says, I'm going to help you sell more or have better relationships with your clients or with anyone, with your wife, with your kids, whatever it is. In order to do that, I'm about to confuse you. Okay. Has that ever led to better communication? Right?
No.
No.
That's when you respond, that's been clear as mud.
Yeah, exactly. So like we want to learn. So this is not against, you don't know everything. I don't know everything. Yes, we know how to do curls, but we don't know everything.
Yeah.
But is there a secret knowledge? No. So be a lifelong learner. Can I tell you an interesting side note?
Yeah, of course.
I'm reading this book about habituation and dishabituation.
Hmm.
I forget the title of it right now. I can look it up. We can footnote it. It's with a neuroscientist and a scholar. And basically, habituation is your ability to get used to anything, and good or bad. Dishabituation is when you no longer are used to it when you have been used to it, which is different than not being used to something, right?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
I showed up here. I'm from the West Coast. It's freezing in Connecticut. I will become habituated to the cold. Okay. When I go back home and I think it's really hot, I become dishabituated to what was normal for me. But here's the interesting thing about learning. I'm just telling everybody this because I thought it was so insightful. They did an experiment where they made a video game for a set of people. Again, this is a scientific method, right? Took a fixed set of people and gave them a video game, told them exactly how to play it, right? And they played it. And of course, every day or every time you play it, you become more habituated to the pleasure of it and it becomes less and less pleasurable. Then they took another set of people and gave them a video game, but they only taught them how to play it level by level. Okay, so they had to learn the whole time. And because they had to learn the whole time, the level of pleasure stayed, did not diminish as it did when it was the same.
Yeah.
So the deduction from that, the assumption from that is that learning causes or maintains pleasure level. Learning is change. All learning is change because you're learning something new.
Yeah.
Change is the enemy of habituation. So a life full of learning should be a life full of pleasure, or at least less habituated insensitivity towards your pleasure and your joy. So long way of saying you don't know everything, but we need to know ain't a secret.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's a lot that you said there, and I would love to get into that book, and that's a whole nother conversation. But there's always a gap between knowing something and actually doing it. Because, when you first said it was like just doing it as opposed to getting complex. So how do you bridge that gap from knowing something and actually doing it? Because a lot of times you may learn something new, but then applying it on every day it's not so easy.
Yeah. Just a quick footnote. The book is called Look Again by Tali Sharot and Cass Sunstein.
All right.
Look Again. Yeah, no, really good point, right? Because, okay, good. So now many of us are like, for sure, you could ask anyone in my life, an armchair expert, right? So we can now know stuff. What we need to do to ask is, I know the stuff. What's the best way to do this? Very little of that will help you until you start doing it. And there's no other way around it. So how do we find a way where we do what we want to do? Like in the world of sales, we talk about sales reporting and people don't want to enter stuff into CRM. Good salespeople don't tell you about their wins. Okay. Someone who's doing the work never hides their work. They may even say, oh, I don't even care about that. I just go and do my thing. They never hide their work. Okay. So but for those of us who aren't driven to be, in this case, let's say a salesperson or an outgoing person, a networker, we're shy in public, we're not confident about our expertise, whatever the case is, okay, whatever the hard things that you don't want to do. What I tell people is to try and engineer try and get as close to it as possible, okay? There is no guarantee, and again, run away from anyone who tells you I can make this easy, that you're going to love this, okay? This is going to be hard. Let's make it as little, as less hard as possible. Right. And then you got to bite down and do it. So, for example, I used to tell people, we always wanted people to be on boards and committees, charitable boards and local boards and things like that. I had a rule, which was two rules. And then I offered a guarantee to get them on a board. One was it had to be about the board or the organization that you're getting involved with you had to care about it in some way, even if it wasn't a charity. Okay. You had to be personally invested. It was a country club board. You had to care about it. It was a library. It was a charity, whatever it was. Okay. Number one, you had to give right, about it. Number two is it had to be between the office and your house. All right. It's just a behavioral thing. If you have to drive past your house when you're exhausted, you ain't going to do it. You're not going to do it. Right.
Yeah.
So make the hard things easy and the easy things hard. So this is another like behavioral sort of trick. If you don't want to eat so much chips and candy, put it on a high shelf, right? Put the apples on the low shelf. That's what we need to do with our behaviors around these tasks, which now made simple are still difficult. Let's make them as easy as possible.
Hmm.
Again, in the world of sales, people would tell me, partners, very successful people would say, well, listen, that guy likes to go out to drink 5 days a week. He's out at cocktails 5 days a week, or that, that person has tons of contacts already, or that person's a great talker. To which I'd always answer, there has to be something that you care about, right? Do you eat breakfast, lunch, right? You want to be home for dinner with your family? I commend that. Do you eat breakfast? Do you eat lunch? No, I'm eating at my desk. Well, that's the problem, right? Or do you play pickleball? Do you knit? Do you like book groups? Are you caring about civic matters? There's something you care about. And so make it easy, because I'm sure we've all had the experience where we've been over volunteered, and that sucks.
Yeah, it does. It really does. It really does. And when you over volunteer, then you're suddenly extending yourself over more. And then it snowballs into your work until you just don't care about any of it. You have too much to care about.
That's right. And you end up resenting it more, right? You're not making it, make it easy on yourself, as easy as possible to do hard things.
Yeah.
You don't want to do those bicep curls, reward yourself. I don't know. Like for me, I cannot work out in the morning. I can't. I don't like it. I'm better right around dinner time. And so let me make it, I can do that. So I'm going to do that. I don't need to torture myself. The weight's torture enough.
Yeah. We were our own worst enemy sometimes.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I think that's what it's coming down to, because sometimes you're like, well, if I do this, then I have to do that. Then I have to do that. And you either make it too hard for yourself, or you're just that one step away from just doing it. Like you said, make sure that place that you're volunteering is between the office and home, so that you can just stop there on the way, get it done and move on. Otherwise, it's just gonna be another burden, and it's too much.
It's too much. Life is hard.
Yeah.
Life is beautiful, but life is hard. And you're going to have to do hard stuff. And that's why we fall for these things.
Yeah.
That's why. Someone came and said, I'm going to teach you everything I know. We're talking about sales again. It could be about anything, by the way. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to teach you everything I know about nutrition. I'm going to teach you everything I know about sales. That's different than saying, I know all there is to know about nutrition. I know all there is to know about sales. And if you pay me, you will then benefit from that. Because what they've left out is you need to eat different. You need to do other things, right?
Yeah.
So it is not actually the knowledge that does it most often. It's the behaviors, and the behavior is the hard part.
Yeah. So just thinking about, leaders of teams, and if you have a team that you're working with, what are different communication styles, ways that you can help make things simple and help break down complex processes? Just, even like in a business, and you're trying to make things more simple for people to get their jobs done, because everybody's tightening their belt. There's a lot of downsides happening. Teams are more strapped than ever. How can we put these things that we've been talking about to practice?
Sure. So let's start at the very beginning. Everyone on your team should have an accurate job description. Not for the job that they got hired on at this point, for the job that they currently have.
Yeah.
Right. Number one, because that is how we've agreed. We actually signed something that this is the definition of success.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So we've now agreed that oftentimes things are hard, even when they're simple. One of the rewards we get for hard work is success as we define it. Now, you've already negotiated the contract, right? The payment, and payment, as far as I'm concerned, payment, let's talk about this. Employee pay, salary is not reward.
No,
it's compensation.
Yeah.
Okay. It's goods. It's money for services. It's not something that you give to your team every month. It's something that is theirs, that they've earned with their behavior. And I think it's really important that we don't think that way, that that they owe us. It's an exchange. Now, above and beyond is a different story. So let's go back. The job description. Employees, teammates want to know how to be successful. It is safe to assume if they don't, fire them, but let's assume most of them do.
Yeah.
After you've hired a person, your job is to facilitate their success as a manager. Because as a manager, your team's aggregate success is your success. That is like the best metric of your success to the company. There are other metrics that I really care about, like longevity and people outperforming you in their career when, passing you in your career. I like to build careers, but if we start with an accurate job description, now they know what does success look like. Now I know what I can do to help them with their goals. And whenever possible, be that translator and also sort of narrator to tell them what those simple, hard things are that need to be done.
Mm.
In no way should you be doing the hard things for your people insofar as that those hard things are a part of the scope of their job description, but be there to support them for it, pump them up if you need to, always back them up on it, and celebrate them when they're successful at it.
Mm.
That's what I tell you.
Yeah. It's funny. You make it sound so simple, and it is simple. It's not easy to do, though.
No, hard. It's super hard. Yeah.
But I appreciate the simplicity in which you explain that, because that was such an easy, simple breakdown. But then you think about it like, okay, this is very hard to do, but it's not difficult. Like, it's hard to do, but it's not complex. There you go. That's what I was looking for.
Not complex.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I wish I had a different story. If I did, I'd sell it to you. But the truth is, it's not. But it is. By the time you reach manager and above in your business, you have some experience.
Mm-hmm.
I think people instinctively know this stuff.
Yeah.
You know, where they've intuited it over time. They've seen successful people and their behaviors. They may not have like a codex, or they may not have a way to understand what those successful behaviors actually mean into work. But you think about stories that people have heard about having great bosses and mentors.
Yeah.
This is how they behave.
Yeah, they do.
You know, they gas you up before your big meeting. They let the steam out when there's like too much tension. They hold you accountable to their standards and to your own, they hold you accountable to your own success. Again, I cannot say this enough. I say it everywhere. If a manager holds their teammate to that teammate's success, you don't owe me anything. You know, this is your definition of success. They don't need to do anything but their own success, because that is it, right? We are aligned.
Yeah.
Every time an employee comes to a manager and says, I think you're trying to sabotage my career. I think you don't like me. I think you like Timmy more than Johnny, whatever the case is. And I have actually, this is something that I've done personally in my life. I said, none of that is true. However, I understand you feel that way. Okay. But let me tell you something that will make it irrelevant. Your success is my success. Why would I ever submarine you when I go to my betters and they say your team is garbage? They wouldn't. You know, why would I accept? I'm shooting myself in the foot by submarining your efforts. Right? Now, we could have communication issues, we could have expectation issues, and we should iron all that out. But I'd suspect that it is very rarely the case when somebody feels that a manager's undermining their subordinate. It's something else, or a very bad manager.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, someone who doesn't understand what it means to be a manager and the responsibility that you have. I mean, isn't that kind of the greatest, to be a leader? Isn't it kind of the greatest job in the world? My job is to help people create success for themselves. And for that, I'm successful. It's amazing.
Yeah. And I think sometimes these high octane work environments create this competitiveness against each other, and we forget to lift each other up. Some of the greatest leaders in the world, their greatest advice is, hey, lift everyone else up around you. It lifts you up.
Oh.
And it's a very simple concept, but because we're always trying to fight against, and it's always trying to, especially high octane, like certain types of work environments, it's very difficult to lift each other up, because then, I'm going to undercut this person because they're acting weak or whatever it is. I
think, you're totally right. Here's the best I can do. And I worked in the entertainment industry. I worked in the sales industry. I worked in some tough shops. Actually, the talent agency business, some tough shops. If you feel that way about your business, leave. Okay. First of all, you have agency in this world. Okay. Now, this is simple, but it's hard, right? And a lot of us don't do it. And I don't fault anyone who hung in a job that they didn't love longer because of it didn't meet the risk tolerances for their ability to support their family. I've done it.
Of course.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't, but I'm not gonna pretend like we don't know what to do. Right. So I'll tell you the way that I think about this is, the job of a boss, a leader, is to give credit and take blame. If you can just tattoo that on your chest, all right, and do that every day, your team will not just adore you, but they will feel at their core that they are protected and appreciated, and that frees them up to go and be the best version of themselves. Scared people don't do their best work. It's a myth that people in crisis do better work, that people under insane time crunches do better work, or that, hey, I work better under pressure. No, you don't. Okay, no, you don't. I'm not a scientist, but I'm putting my money on the table that they've not studied any set of people that actually work better under pressure. Okay, all of that is a myth. So how do we create comfort for people? One is praise is free. Okay, please and thank yous are free, by the way, to every boss out in the world. Okay, they are totally free, and encourage you to use them. Praise your team. Their success is your success. Okay. Take the blame, because ultimately it does stop with you. And when you are consistent in this behavior, not random acts of generosity with praise or blame are really destructive. Okay. But when you are consistent in this, your team will go out of its way not to make you eat their shame. Okay. And that is the highest functioning team, that they will do whatever not whatever, because you don't want people staying up all night working or whatever, but they will go out of their way. They'll take extra special care because they know that when this works, you're going to praise the hell out of them. And if it doesn't, because of them, that you're going to go and take a shellacking, and it will be their fault because they decided to knock off an hour early to go to cocktails, and they won't do that.
Yeah.
And you didn't have to do anything but the right thing. It's cool.
That is really cool.
Yeah.
Bruce, we could probably chat about this for like another hour, or if not more. I love chatting with you, but I really appreciate you sharing your expertise with our audience today, with coming on and just being open with us. And I think it's really important. I encourage people to connect with you on LinkedIn and just continue the conversation going.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been wonderful. I also have the feeling like we could do this for 4 hours, but maybe another time. Thank you so much. And thanks to everybody who took time out of their day to listen. And please do feel free to reach out.
This has been Count Me In, IMA's podcast, providing you with the latest perspectives of thought leaders from the accounting and finance profession. If you like what you heard and you'd like to be counted in for more relevant accounting and finance education, visit IMA's website at www.imanet.org.